The wind whispers across the stark, sun-beaten landscape of Nevada, curling and twisting through the dry, unforgiving mountains. It carries with it the echoes of secrets, many buried deep beneath layers of ancient rock and heavy history. This land stretches across the horizon, a parched canvas waiting for stories told in whispers, tales of aircraft soaring overhead and of shadows darting in the stillness. Welcome to Area 51, a name that ignites a fire of speculation and invites the curious to peer deeper into the unknown. As the sun dips below the rugged mountains, it casts elongated shadows that dance across the barren earth, and a peculiar mix of excitement and trepidation fills the air. Though long before the whispers of extraterrestrial visitors and government conspiracies, this arid expanse was merely an afterthought, a desolate stretch dominated by the relentless sun and the daunting silence. Yet the desolation would serve as the perfect backdrop for a chapter that would send ripples through the annals of military history, shrouded in an almost ethereal veil of ambiguity. It was in the thick of the Cold War, when the world stood divided between the Eastern Bloc and the West, that the seeds of the myth surrounding Area 51 first began to germinate. The horrors of war had bred an insatiable thirst for knowledge, a desperate attempt to outshine perceived adversaries. Beneath the surface of a world holding its breath stood the labyrinthine walls of a facility built not for the eyes of the public, but for an elite few cloaked in secrecy. Here machines of war would take flight, embroiled in daring endeavors wrapped in classified files and whispers of the extraordinary. Yet who were the souls that inhabited this expanse? Past the formidable fences and watchtowers lay a group of people, ordinary citizens living their lives on society's fringe. They peered into twilight skies filled with uncertainty, casting their aspirations toward piloted aircraft strapped with cutting-edge technology. Amidst the mundane routines of daily life, they carried within them an unacknowledged intimacy with the unknown, a shared sentiment of curiosity tinged with anxiety. Their stories hold a richness that often escapes the larger narrative, a community contending with a veil of mystery that seemed woven into the very air they breathed. Imagine a local diner, smeared with the grease-slicked remnants of countless meals, where the hum of conversation mingles with jugs of coffee, forming a warm cocoon against the encroaching chill of the desert night. Patrons retreat from the suffocating silence, feeding the hunger for gossip, recounting hushed snippets of extraordinary sightings, an inexplicable flash of light, sudden explosions, aircraft that defy the laws of flight. These moments are cherished treasures of shared wonder, each story laced with fear and fascination, signaling to them that human ambition entwines seamlessly with the enigma of the cosmos. As the purring engines of the testing aircraft returned home, rattled locals watched from afar, their hearts pounding, balancing between awe and dread. Stories flourished, morphing into legends fed by a cocktail of imagination and fear, and while factual happenings were swathed in layers of truth, the line between reality and the fantastical grew increasingly porous. It is in this nuanced space that the people of Nevada found themselves, grappling with an unsettling truth. They were bystanders to a theater of shadows, political machinations unfolding quietly behind closed doors. What if everything you've been told about Area 51 is merely a sliver of the truth? In an age where secrecy became currency, and guardrails of morality eroded beneath the weight of national security, the enigmatic allure of Area 51 morphed into a symbol of a world drowning in paranoia. Scientists became operatives, invention morphed into a game of deception. What lay hidden within its monolithic structures? What drove those in power to bury the truth beneath layers of classified documentation that left the public in darkness? It is crucial to understand that the inception of Area 51 was not born from mere flights of fancy or the playful whims of scientists seeking knowledge. Instead, it evolved amidst the gripping urgencies of the Cold War, a fervent reaction to the churning social anxieties, the looming fear of communism. Technological race intensified, paralleled by an obsession with surpassing the enemy. High-stakes espionage demanded not just advancement but absolute confidentiality in the delicate dance of power play. Beneath the vastness of the Nevada skies, the elements meld, draping shadows over the past as they stretch into an unclear future. Dust settles in the moonlight, contouring the contours of the land, a reminder of more than just the feed of machinery. It was a place of dreams and fears intertwined. The barren plains swallowed the hopes of men determined to outpace their foes, emphasizing the paradox of a pursuit for advancement marred by an insatiable thirst for secrecy. Every glint of a wing and every pulse of an engine spoke of broken promises and unspoken truths, as engineers became architects of not just machines, but of a reality steeped in intrigue. Would those working tirelessly within the labyrinthine confines of dissenting airspace acknowledge their contributions might one day fall into the realm of fantasy and speculation? Perhaps they thought beyond the rigid lines of their world, beyond the mundane truths of the everyday. They were engaged in a dance, embroiled with the mysteries of existence that provoked contemplation on the very nature of humanity's place amid countless stars and distant worlds. What does it mean to chase shadows, laying bare the raw ambition of men who yearn not just to fly, but to glean mastery over realms flowing with uncharted aspirations? As you traverse the storied backdrop of Area 51, allow the sensation of curiosity to envelop you, be it the serenity of a desert night or the vast expanse of rockets propelled through the skies, ever searching. What specters roamed the horizon? What truths flickered like distant stars, promising the revelation of secrets while shrouded in darkness? The dawn of understanding lies not only in the revelations of past endeavors, but in tracing the lines drawn by ambition, fear, and human vulnerability, threads distinct yet endlessly interwoven. Before long, truths concealed beneath layers of myth and reality will inch ever closer to the surface. Yet amidst this unfolding tapestry, the quest is always resolute, an invitation to embrace the beautiful and chilling unknown we carry in our hearts and minds. As we continue on this journey, shrouded in intrigue and suspense, the allure of what lies ahead beckons. Prepare to step deeper into the shadows, where ordinary lives intersect with extraordinary histories. The tale of Area 51 is only just beginning. In the heart of the Nevada desert, one might be tempted to perceive only emptiness, an arid land void of life or significance. Yet beneath its sun-baked surface lies a complex tapestry of human ambition, national pride, and the creeping grip of paranoia. It is here, against the backdrop of these stark landscapes, that the enduring saga of Area 51 began to weave itself into the very fabric of American identity. Before the shadows of conspiracy took to the skies, the winds of history had already set this stage. As the first hints of the Cold War emerged, casting ominous clouds over the shoulders of a nation still recovering from the wounds of the Second World War, a new kind of urgency began to resonate across the nation. In this period, the fragile thread of trust that wound through American society frayed into an array of anxieties, fueled by the relentless specter of communism. With whispers of the Soviet Union's burgeoning nuclear capabilities, the American government sought to bolster its position, pervading daily life with a sense of impending doom. The stakes were high, and for those at the helm of power, exploring the unknown and harnessing unprecedented technology became a seemingly imperative mission. Amidst this tension, a dream took root. The establishment of the nascent U.S. Air Force signified a paradigm shift, from a military focused on ground-based warfare to one that harnessed the potential of the skies. Beyond mere territorial conquest, this new branch would serve as an emblem of freedom and superiority, a powerful extension of the American ethos. However, like light and shadow entwined, the exhilaration of progress danced dimly alongside an undercurrent of fear, the distinct knowledge that in the realm of aviation lay significant vulnerabilities, not just to the nation, but to its citizens. In the early 1950s, the first stakes of secrecy were driven deep into the fundamental soil of what would become Area 51. Originally a humble expanse called Groom Lake, its seemingly mundane origins belied the dark ambitions lurking beneath. Constructed as a testing and development site for next-generation reconnaissance aircraft, it embodied an audacious blend of military innovation and clandestine necessity. The initial blueprints, sketched hastily and wrapped in secrecy, reflected a nation ensnared in a fevered race, desperate not to lag behind in a world that demanded technological supremacy. But as ambition mounted, so did the layers of complexity. The paranoia that gripped the nation spilled into everyday lives, provoking an ever-present tension between public perception and governmental restraint. The fate of Groom Lake and, by extension, Area 51 became a reflection of a broader societal dilemma: how to balance the promise of progress against the need for control and secrecy. Amid the throes of neo-McCarthyism, civilian trust was expedited into a fragile state. What once may have been innocuous airport spotting of unusual craft morphed into eerie spectacles of government misdirection. As the years progressed, the facility commenced its intricate role in shaping the course of aviation, and eventually the very narrative of American culture. The birth of the U-2 spy plane, a harbinger of intelligence-gathering capability, was realized within these heavily monitored walls. Yet like all ambitious endeavors resting on delicate foundations, the ramifications extended far beyond anticipation. Each lofty flight represented a dance with danger, and the ominous specter of exposure loomed larger on the horizon. The years rolled forward, dragging with them the echoes of high-stakes missions meant to decipher the mysteries of the Cold War. Increased sightings fueled speculation as shapes zipped across the crystalline skies, igniting curiosity, escalating fear, and propelling the mysterious allure of Area 51 into the public consciousness. Though shadowed behind thin walls of secrecy, the stories proliferated. The cryptic nature of aircraft cloaked in the fabric of governmental secrecy reflected the zeitgeist, a national consciousness saturated with the thrill of exploration and spiked with unshakable doubt. Caressing the deserted hills was both a sense of wonder and an edge of fear pulsating through communities nearby. Ordinary citizens forged their lives amidst this fabricated tension, their daily realities overshadowed by whispered tales of narrow escapes in the night skis. As they ventured to work or shared moments around kitchen tables, the legends began to excavate their collective psyche. Stories of strange lights and unexplainable phenomena layered the evenings with something electric, something that ignited longing for knowledge. What secrets soared above them? What truths did they dare to untangle? Yet with each passing day, the veil of secrecy thickened. The fabric of ordinary life began to fray, as the people of nearby towns felt the fissures created by ambiguity, fostering an ever-growing sense of isolation, accentuated by the stark beauty of their landscape. As highways erased the distance to a world of opportunity, the juxtaposition deepened. It was no longer just darkened silhouettes darting across the skyline. The stories trickled through the remnants of the regions, people waiting anxiously for that next inexplicable flash that may hint at a world beyond their own. Into this simmering pot of emotions, ambition, and fears, the genius of human ingenuity intermingled with suspicions born from wartime traditions, the propensity to cloak not just technology but the very truths that held nations together. People sought explanations for the sights that astonished and frightened them. What often began as a casual glance upward at a distant plane transformed into fervent engagement with fantastical tales of alien visitors and government cover-ups, driven by collective anxiety as much as collective imagination. But in the quiet corners of this bustling mystery, the people of Nevada did not simply harbor fears. They nurtured hopes that perhaps they too could be part of the grand narrative of technological breakthroughs. Everyday life unfolded like an unceasing reel of contradictions, where dreams collided with the siren calls of the unknown. In diners echoing the laughter of camaraderie or along dusty roads austere with potential, a longing for connection bubbled just beneath the surface, intertwining the lives of those who inhabited the outskirts of Area 51. As the kaleidoscope of experiences painted their world, discontent arose, a realization carried forth by those who sensed the tension between their mundane existence and the extraordinary machinery of secrecy beyond their sight. While their lives were marred by erosion, it was not merely the government's shadow that cast those pallid tones, but the enigmatic allure and cold ambition dwelling behind the phenomenon of Area 51. It is in the pursuit of understanding, the quest to yield truth from the hidden lies, that the real burden of secrecy began to impact lives, fomenting uncertainty in the hearts of those who strayed too close to the bolted gates of knowledge. And so, in this delicate dance with ambition and anxiety, the foundation of Area 51 will evolve, coiling tighter as the stakes rise, and the viewer will find themselves inexorably drawn to the pivotal moments that transform uncertainty into action and speculation into belief. In time, the fractures in this grand narrative will unravel, revealing an intricate web of motivations driven by the finest threads of human nature, each thread a whisper echoing off the walls of those arid mountains, inviting engagement with an unfolding truth neither betray nor illuminate yet. With the stage thus set, the unfolding tale of Area 51 beckons for us to step further into its rich tapestry, one filled with innumerable threads woven into the heart of humanity's quest for knowledge, each whisper promising deeper truths while keeping us on the edge of our collective seat. Let us turn our gaze inward, exploring the interstices of ambition, fear, and secrecy, where the allure of knowledge dances through the shadows, poised to reveal or conceal the uncharted paths ahead. Amidst the desolate beauty of Nevada's high desert, the quiet lives of its residents pulsed with an undercurrent of both simplicity and enigma. Here the sun blazed intensely above the expanse of arid land, yet beneath the scorching rays, an intricate world of humanity unfolded, weaving together an intricate tapestry rich in emotion, struggle, dreams, and whispers of something far beyond the horizon. In the towns that skirted the imposing parameters of Area 51, the daily routine ebbed and flowed like the undulating terrain, each morning bringing the fresh scent of the earth after the night's cool embrace. The clattering of dishes announced the beginning of yet another day in the homes of families that had grown resilient in the face of uncertainty. Outfitted in clothing that bore the marks of labor and love, mothers stirred pots of savory stews while fathers donned worn boots, setting off to work under brilliant blue canvas, their hearts filled with a mix of routine familiarity and the unshakable nerves that accompanied living near the unknown. Cafes bustled with the chatter of locals, their discussions colored not merely by personal anecdotes but by whispered perplexities that ached for explanation. Over steaming cups of coffee, they pondered the silhouettes that soared high above, a mix of curiosity and anxious anticipation lining their faces. Between sips, children played freely in front of the diner, their laughter echoing like a promise of innocence amidst the shadows cast by the towering secrets above. The fervor in their voices hinted at a world both known and unknown, filled with flights of fancy and tales of distant stars, a stark contrast to the uncertainty that their elders bore, where daily news remained tinged with reports of mysterious events that left more questions than answers. In the dimly lit homes adorned with age-old photographs perched atop mantels, family structures held firm, weathered by the storms of circumstance, yet fortified with love. Gatherings around the dinner table brought forth both warmth and an undercurrent of unease, as stories of past encounters with strange sightings danced through the air like the glow of flickering candles. Isolation hung palpably in their communities, a realization that as they cultivated their gardens and tended to their livestock, the sinews connecting them to a larger narrative of defense and ambition created walls so thick they felt tangible. As the shadows lengthened in the evening, a hint of magic unfurled above. The stars began to sprinkle the vast sky, a sharp contrast to the earth below. Yet for those who would gaze skyward, wonder was often laced with trepidation, for in the delicate balance between yearning and fear, the mysteries of the UFO sightings transformed into potent folklore, revealing how deeply the unknown could tether the hopes of their community. As they gathered for church services on Sundays, the air heavy with the scent of incense that enveloped their worship, congregants wrestled with the fragility of trust, not merely in their faith but in the very institutions sworn to protect them. The architecture of their towns mirrored the duality of this existence, decent, sensible structures that echoed their aspirations, punctuated by the secrets that spoke of both durability and vulnerability. Weathered clapboard houses stood resolute against the harshness of the environment, embodying both warmth and a burden of expectations. Amidst the seemingly rigid order of their lives lay an unspoken agreement, an acknowledgement that their place in the fabric of this vast country rested upon their tacit acceptance of the unknown, as the dividers between the known and the arcane ebbed and flowed with the seasons. Food served as both a constant and an evolving symbol of connection, a labor of love prepared with clockwork precision. Memories were made in countless meals shared among families, where their conversations oscillated between laughter about everyday occurrences to muted punctuations of fear and awe that nothing felt entirely safe in the face of that which flew above, the great unknown that lay just beyond the shadows. The local farmers' market thrived, a gathering of souls drawn together not only by the pursuit of fresh produce and handmade crafts, but by the links formed in sharing knowledge and stories, where a single exchange could echo the voice of inquiry about unexplained happenings overhead. The rituals practiced in these communities provided a much-needed anchor, whether through the ardent observance of traditional holidays or casual moments shared among neighbors, reminding them of their shared history and the strength that comes from unity. Yet even the most cherished traditions bore an imprint of uncertainty, as shadows shifted around the periphery of their daily lives, urging them to seek answers while wrestling with the heaviness of doubt. Interestingly, as this human story unfolded under the expanse of the unforgiving Nevada sky, it became apparent that the psychological framework of fear was often couched in remarkable ambition. For those residing on the edge of this mythical entity, understanding their emotional realities meant acknowledging the fine line they tread between vigilance as protectors of truth and becoming unwitting subjects of manipulating narratives spun by forces both seen and unseen. Strangers often converged on these towns, draping their inquiries in garments of skepticism, drawn not only by the magnetic allure of Area 51, but also by an innate hunger to decipher the complexities that had embedded themselves into the very ethos of American culture. These newcomers, their eyes wide with fascination, cast ripples across communities that felt the weight and eagerness of exploration, but also the unyielding claim of suspicion that each passing day could unravel a thread linking them to a collective narrative fraught with paranoia. Even as they stepped into the town limits, stepping onto familiar roads lined with sagebrush and dry earth, the fabric of ordinary life bore the immature scars of a larger clash signal, an ambivalence propelled by a desire for knowledge that fluctuated between excitement and despair. With young boys sneaking glances up at shimmering skis while clutching their bicycle handlebars tightly, there resided a yearning to be part of something far greater, a quest that wrapped itself around the very essence of their childhood innocence. Yet as much as conversation flowed freely in cafes and fields burgeoned with diligent labor, whispers of something maleficent weaved their way through gatherings, compelling individuals to question the intentions behind their proximity to Area 51. They pondered the implications of being so close to power cloaked in darkness. Were they unwitting subjects in a larger game determined by unseen forces? Herein lay the duality of human existence amidst the pulse of an ever-evolving enigma, where dreams danced with shadows, craving answers while wrestling with the gnawing discomfort of doubt. As they navigated their daily paths, they encountered artifacts of ambition, the rusted remnants of machinery strewn over the landscape, left idle yet quietly reminiscent of a time when the race to conquer the skies filled the air with fervor. Decades later, what remained were echoes, relics of ambitions unleashed and dreams snatched away, buried beneath the weight of time and secrecy. Possessions held dear were tainted with veils, laden with ambiguity and fear, leaving behind pathos that shrouded the lives of those who attempted to thrive on the fringes of that elusive promise of truth. In the vast and arid beauty of Nevada, every day began anew, yet every day felt steeped in the echoes of 1,000 unasked questions, each laden with the weight of a profound longing. As the sun slipped below the horizon and embroidered the skyline with hues of amber and magenta, the residents continued to spin their own narratives, diligently tied together by their shared experiences and emotive existence, unwitting participants in a larger tale of ambition, secrecy, and humanity's unyielding quest for understanding. And as the viewers traverse through the rhythms of their lives, the rippling waters of emotion and motivation intermingling within the lives of these ordinary individuals, the intricate dance of truth and deceit unfurls, inviting all to ponder the fragile balance of trust and secrecy that encompasses their very existence. A journey awaits, spiraling deeper into the depths of ambition and fear, yearning still for answers while navigating the unknown paths that lie ahead. As chilling winds sweep across the expanse of black desert beneath a canopy of stars, the whispers of fear and fascination linger. Among those formidable mountains, secrets lay dormant, entwined with the very marrow of what it meant to exist in a land that thrived on paradox. For the inhabitants of these remote communities, the transformation that was unfolding did not only reside within the swirling air of conspiracy, it lived within them, imbued with the ambitions of a nation thirsting to reclaim its status amid the burgeoning shadows of the Cold War. The energy of the age charged the atmosphere, and beneath that beckoning starry sky, something intangible began to shift. Once isolated by geography and guided by a collective culture, the residents stood at the precipice of a metamorphosis that reverberated far beyond their desert borders, a harbinger of change that seemed almost palpable in the charged space they occupied, setting forth an interplay of curiosity and dread that began to craft their narrative. With the dawning of the 1950s, paranoia seized the hearts of nations. Like a festering wound, distrust deepened as citizens grew anxious within their own borders, their thoughts laden with the uncertainties born of ideological warfare. It was no longer merely a battle of ideologies and global influence. It morphed into one where every citizen became a suspect in a sprawling web spun by fear. In this tension-filled backdrop, the clamor for control echoed within the walls of power, a desire to assert dominance that would find expression in the shadows of the high desert. Emerging from this geopolitical fervor came a series of clandestine operations that stretched the limits of human ambition. The creation of Area 51 was birthed from a marriage of inventive engineering and the darkness that pursued the calm facade of military secrecy. The hum of machinery blended with the thrum of ambition as minds sparked ideas that teetered on the edge of ethics. Here lay a nexus of human ingenuity not limited by boundaries. Rather, it propelled a generation steeped in daring exploration. Yet in this unyielding pursuit of progress, the potential for conflict loomed menacingly. As clandestine projects took root, projects that leaned into the unknown and straddled the lines of morality, the military-industrial complex grew arms, encircling the very psyche of the nation. Each advancement became both a triumph and a prisoner. It achieved astounding feats while forging chains of secrecy that would bind the hands of knowledge. The birth of the U-2 program, shrouded in veils of deceit and driven by paramount ambitions, reflected a nation in turmoil, propelled by the fear of external threats yet unaware of the domestic storm it was cultivating. Unbeknownst to ordinary citizens, these ambitions came at a cost. Pilots tasked with such daring missions became pawns in a grand game of chess where the stakes seemed impossibly high, expected to fly higher and farther, to pierce the very veil of sovereignty, stretching the boundaries of technology into the fathomless skies above. When Gary Power's U-2 was shot down over Soviet airspace, the implications resonated beyond the loss of a pilot. In that moment, a cascade of cascading tensions unfurled, a chorus of government secrets layered atop human sacrifice, foreshadowing the struggles that would define the very culture they lived in. As these events unfolded, they cast ripples across the communities, channeling through their collective psyche, a mixture of anxiety and anticipation stirred by the unknown. And thus, the rising tide of unrest enveloped even the simplest conversations at the town diner, where over animated conversations, patrons began vocalizing dissent against the walled-off reality of Area 51. The ever-present specter of conflict loomed larger as rumors swirled about the military's activities bearing unmistakable weight, the chilling notion that their lives were intertwined with an intricate tapestry of espionage, while the unveiling of technology was eclipsed by the very power structures that sought to control it. With each passing hour, the question of morality weighed heavier upon the citizenry. Was their loyalty being manipulated? Were they merely the watchful eyes protecting a secret they had yet to comprehend? The unease within local families morphed into a simmering frustration, teetering on the edge of rebellion. Conversations shifted from whimsical musings about unidentified flying objects to pressing inquiries about the very motivations and sacrifices plied by those in power, leading to a belief deeply rooted in skepticism, germinating within the soil of their reality. Concurrently, as secrets amassed, the mundanity of daily life became irrevocably entwined with the urgency of inquiry as social unrest bubbled just beneath the surface. The changing tides of political systems occurred not only in the hallowed halls of government, but also within the bustling streets of their towns, giving birth to a collective voice seeking answers to questions that once remained hidden deep in the soil of their very existence. As the fear of the unknown settled deep into the civic subconscious, a group began to take shape, an expression of the rebellious spirit that had flourished within this clime, evolving from a thirst for knowledge into an idiosyncratic movement dedicated to uncovering truths long buried. This burgeoning assembly, emerging from the very land upon which Area 51 stood, signaled a pivotal transition, a newfound resolve among ordinary citizens reflecting societal currents that ebbed and flowed like the surges of water in the nearby creeks. As whispers turned into rallying cries, gatherings ignited the aspirations of many more than just the locals, echoing through the national consciousness as the citizens began to probe into the depths of an impenetrable reality. They ventured boldly into advocacy, where concerns about government oversight transitioned into a unique purpose, each small act of defiance demanding answers to questions they believed deeply merited exploration, through a lens colored by their emotional realities. Amidst these fervent gatherings rumbled the specter of growing conflict, a struggle defined not just by ideas, but one that echoed with the generations past, a tug-of-war between the right to access the truth and the raw appetite of power. As this ideological struggle intensified, the embers of ambition took flight, nurturing that recognition that perhaps they might together hone the sheer force necessary to challenge the circumstances thrust upon them, standing against a shadowy force they could no longer ignore. In this crucible of tension, a seismic shift never fully made manifest began to unfold, taking form beneath the surface of day-to-day existence. A legacy was brewing that transcended individual ambitions, where it became increasingly clear that human agency was not merely shaped by those who held power, but was a living, breathing process nurtured through collective experience and the unanswered yearning for justice. Thus, under the vast and arid Californian night sky, the interplay of light and dark illuminated not merely the contours of the landscape, but also the thoughts echoing through communities striving for recognition amidst relentless secrecy. Citizens would evince their tenacity against the growing forces of bureaucracy, bearing witness to the evolution of humanity's most complex questions: what price do we pay for knowledge? And in our quest to unveil the hidden realms, what of our souls remain untouched? Their story, a tapestry woven with revelations and confrontations, hints at a thorny future. As these fragile truths intertwine with lessons of deceit and ambition, the stakes grow unfathomably high. This escalating energy, the tension within the communities that gazed skyward and dared to wonder, would ignite a momentum that pushed relentlessly toward an irrevocable change. Each whisper of secrecy, each revelation of bleak ambition served as a harbinger, revealing the fracture lines beneath the seemingly serene surface of their world, leading spirited individuals and communities to navigate the vastness of the unknown, now interwoven into the very fabric of their lives. And so as the night whispers its secrets across the Nevada sky, the pulse quickens, intensity rises, a clarion call unfolds, bearing witness to a transformation unfurling beneath the starlit canvas. This is not merely the story of Area 51, it is the poignant testament of human ambition, fear, and inquiry, a tale that weaves in and out of ordinary lives and sets the stage for an inevitable uncovering that lies on the precipice of revelation. As the flickering lights of towns give way to the inky shadows of the night, the emotional landscape of the residents around Area 51 undergoes an irreversible transformation, one not immediately visible, but felt deeply in the fibers of a community grappling with the specter of uncertainty. No longer confined to idle whispers over drinks at the diner, their fears began to materialize into a palpable force, morphing into an awakening that fused curiosity and trepidation into a collective yearning for clarity. Underneath the relentless gaze of the stars, minds simmered with questions, The sense of estrangement began to settle over them. How could the heart of national pride remain hidden behind such stringent walls, the very walls that surrounded their lives and shrouded their existence in ambiguity? Gazing up at the skies where shadows danced alongside the faded light, many no longer viewed the celestial wonders as mere points of light in the vast darkness. Rather, they became symbols, a mystical representation of a truth that seemed forever out of reach. Encircled by these mystical entities, the residents of Nevada found themselves at the crossroads of belief, suspicion, and yearning. They began stitching a new identity, one that melded their human experience with a growing narrative steeped in the quest for transparency. This turning point paralleled the broader societal changes taking place across the United States, a country on the brink of a revolution in thought and philosophy. In reaction to the staggering machinations of power above them, murmurs rippled into the fabric of their daily lives, altering the very essence of what it meant to be a citizen. Children playing outside began crafting stories that blended the ordinary with the extraordinary, tales of guardians watching from secret chambers cloaked in shadows, influences that whispered through generations, urging them to muster courage in a world fiercely tied to the whims of unseen forces. As this transformation unfolded, so did a newfound vigor among the inhabitants of the land. They sensed an urgent need, a driving force that propelled them from the shadows, giving rise to a narrative fueled by ambition, introspection, and the thirst for knowledge. The emotional undertow of these events intertwined seamlessly with the architectural landscape of the area. Once simple homes and modest schools now stood in stark contrast to the looming presence of the military complex that defined their surroundings. Gradually, the division between those within and those outside grew steeper, a schism deepening with each passing day. While the residents lived in close proximity to the most technologically advanced operations, they were simultaneously engulfed by a coffee table book notion of ignorance where the extraordinary went unnoticed, waiting to be unveiled. With voices rising amidst the echoes of their past, a new rhythm coursed through the community, one that implored action. Town meetings became electric tapestry gatherings stitched together by unyielding hope. Families poured their apprehensions into passionate dialogue, forging bonds as they shared stories of their changed lives. Citizens, addressing their fears, emphasizing their desire for clarity, would share their dreams which alternated between uplifts and plummets. Some spoke of government-induced paralysis, while others sketched the outline of collective dreams woven through tight-knit communities defined by resilience. As the mid-1960s waned into the twilight of a new era, whispers of dissent transcended mere rhetoric. The population began to mobilize as if grasping at strands of fate slipping through the clutches of dark forces. People dared to demand greater accountability, asking why the secrecy surrounding Area 51 seemed impenetrable, despite existing in close proximity to the lives they lived. They yearned for a connection, a deeper understanding of the swirling fears that had taken root steadfastly within the very soil of their identities. Yet their awakening did not come without cost. The hub of anxiety began to take on a more sinister form as speculation increasingly turned to paranoia, fracturing all semblances of unity established thus far. Rumors twisted and elongated, reverberating through the towns like a long and morose echo. Friends turned into strangers as cryptic debates took shape in the corners of shops and households alike. The desire to uncover the truth became a double-edged sword as it challenged the very core, transforming common people into unwitting instruments in an amplified game of power, creating an us versus them mentality that fractured what once was a cohesive community into diverse strands of suspicion. Understanding moved in a dance with emotion, where curiosity became a battleground marked by conflict, an internal struggle between identity and allegiance to the greater narrative that lived in shadows. As pressure mounted on all sides, the growing competition for acknowledgement burgeoned, not merely instilling fear at an existential level, but prompting glimpses of resolute clarity and unity among those inspired to face a shrouded reality. In the very heart of these sentiments, they grappled with their beliefs about truth, was unraveling the enigma worth the potential risk. At what point did the pursuit of knowledge demand a price they were unwilling to pay? Through the lens of years unfurling slowly, they began witnessing echoes of their story in the larger tapestry of America, a nation endeavoring to confront its own narrative as more stories of secrecy emerged from the shadows. Understanding developed within the realm of history, where the tumultuous relationship between power and citizens transformed not merely into an abstract debate, but into a pressing and felt reality that shaped the experience of daily life itself, leaving behind an emotional resonance like an impression in the sand. As the narratives became more compelling, the dichotomy of trust and betrayal echoed in their restless hearts, summoning an unyielding inquiry that hung in the air through moments lost in time. The fabric of secrecy drew nearer to the lives of these individuals, intertwining with their hopes and fears as they realize they may be the architects of their own unfolding destiny. The transformation from mere spectators shrouded in influence into active participants, willing to bear witness to their history, captured the very essence of the evolving emotional atmosphere. But amidst these currents, shadows of decline loomed large. The once quiet desert town became both a sanctuary and a battlefield, embodying the tensions unraveling both behind closed doors and beneath the firmament. The reality of expectations dashed against the jagged rocks of deception. The community was forever altered as they collided with the inadequacies of structures built to protect and those intended for their benefit, a push toward adaptation leading them to survival. As decades wore on, society twisted and turned like the serpentine canyons carved by the relentless winds. Each erosion reflected a fragment of history left behind. The memories etched within the land and the experiences of the people began to converge, revealing painful truths and moments of resilience. It was an acknowledgement not only of struggles endured in the face of secrecy, but also of the hardened lessons lived by the very souls tucked within the folds of dust and time. Their journey became a pilgrimage of sorts, a continuous understanding, a path carved from sentiments deeply rooted in the soil of their existence. But such movement came slowly, a spectral unveiling like layers peeled back to expose soft truths buried in the ages. The dichotomy of secrets threatened to suffocate, where hope was sometimes buried beneath the weight of deception and betrayal, yet somehow emerging resilient amidst the layered ground, retaining potency. For as each story unfurled, as each voice emerged from the spaces between the whispers, those unsettling narratives of power lingered, a call to future generations as they turned their collective gaze toward an uncertain horizon. In this evolving dance between secrecy and truth, the communities surrounding Area 51 found themselves navigating the intertwining destinies of ambition and fear draped over the landscape like a heavy mantle, opposing forces polarizing and fragmenting the very identities they had come to find solace in. As their stories unraveled, worn against the tides of time, each recollection, each encounter etched memories into the psyche of the populace, leaving traces as fragile as sunlit footprints on darker sand. The echoes of a continuing struggle would resonate deep into the future, serving as a reminder that in a world veiled in uncertainty, one truth stands resilient. The strength of the human spirit emerges most fervently when faced with the churning unknown, a testament to their collective yearning for comprehension and continuity, whether cloaked in conspiracies or born from whispered truths unfurling into the open air. As the curtain rises, reality unfolds slowly. The narrative is far from complete, and the repercussions remain shrouded in questions, a promise of further exploration and the lingering traces of the lives intertwined with the enigma of Area 51. As the shadows lengthen and the remnants of Area 51 continue to recede into the vast Nevada desert, a profound silence blankets the landscape, a silence both haunting and evocative. Here, amidst the parched earth and the distant mountain ranges, lies a history etched into the very fabric of the land, a memory dormant yet vibrant, whispering of the dreams and fears woven into every crack and crevice. The stories of those who lived in the penumbra of secrecy are not merely tales of low whispers and conspiracy. They resonate with the emotional weight of those who sought understanding against a backdrop of obscurity, a tribute to the human spirit, enduring even in places cloaked in uncertainty. The legacy of Area 51 transcends the boundaries of mere military installations. It unfurls across generations like the delicate wings of a moth, drawn irresistibly to the flickering flame of knowledge. In this interplay between shadow and light, the truths once hidden are gradually revealed to the curious, beckoning those willing to engage with the past. Even as the acts of ambition and secrecy privatized histories for the foundations of power, the persistence of memory became crucial to the identity of those communities once enclosed by the whispers of the unknown. Look closely at the parched desert, and one can almost hear the reverberations of lives once tethered to a truth they dared to face, wrestling with the implications of unseen forces shading their existence. The silhouettes of former homes, now mere ruins, stand as solemn sentinels to the struggles of countless individuals. Families shared stolen moments of joy, laughter, and uncertainty. Each moment, each footprint left upon the sandy soil, echoes through time, merging the hopes of the past with the fabric of their evolving story. The realization that once they were defined by geographical proximity to this enigmatic facility transforms into a deeper understanding of their shared humanity, the crux of their existence interwoven with the ever-enigmatic quest for truth and belonging. Yet as whispers transform into quiet reflections, one must wonder how history, enshrined in collective memory, shapes perceptions anew. With the passage of time, the once fierce anxieties associated with Area 51 instilled through generations as specters of uncertainty, have become entwined with legacies of resilience and endurance. What was once haunting speculation morphs into profound acceptance of the subtle mysteries surrounding human expression. For as each subsequent generation consciously engages with the legacies of their predecessors, they unravel a narrative shaped not only by conspiracies, but also by a deeply felt need to embrace wholeness amid deeply fragmented realities. As the hues of twilight paint the sky in washes of violet and orange, a poignant truth unfurls. The paths of our ancestors never truly dissipate into obscurity. They linger like the fading echoes of an unresolved conversation. The crumbling outlines of the base, once bustling with the clatter of ambition, give way to an intangible allure inviting contemplation. As if they were stones scattered along a winding river, the sentiments born from this tale remain, their weight felt heavier in their stillness, and their legacy forever intertwined with those who call this barren desert home. With the encroachment of time, ambiguity and speculation have taken on a new life, dancing at the periphery of public consciousness like fleeting shadows against a canvas of bright stars. The timelessness of their stories transforms old narratives into novel inquiries, an interplay between suspicion and hope, nurturing the flames of curiosity that flicker quietly in the hearts and minds of those who still dare to question. The roots of historical inquiry take hold within understanding and humility, sowing the seeds of dialogue to bridge the chasms that fear and miscommunication once carved deeper. While the ruins may eventually crumble into the sand, succumbing to nature's patient erosion, the essence of what transpired remains a silent sentinel of memory, a testament to the lives imbued with hopes and dreams captured in air heavy with both uncertainty and possibility. It is perhaps in this space that we start to perceive the enormity of their struggle, attuning ourselves to the echoes that resonate within the hollow chambers of human experience. The stillness left behind serves as a fertile ground for introspection, inviting each of us to traverse the paths formed by our predecessors, imbuing the layers of history with meaning that is both collective and individual. And as we gaze upon the expansive backdrop of the desert under the glimmering cosmos, we are reminded of the continuity of human nature, that innate desire to glimpse beyond the veil of darkness surrounding us. The whispers of those who bore witness to the unfolding chapters of Area 51 live on, imbued with a profound resilience that resonates throughout time. Their stories awaken something primordial within us, a deep understanding that in our shared anxiety, dreams, and longing for clarity, we are inextricably intertwined across generations, a connection stronger than the structures that once sought to contain it. In this contemplative embrace, we find solace, not only in understanding the shadows that shaped our realities, but also in recognizing the beauty that emerges amid the insecurities of human ambition. The movement of time reveals that which we may try to bury, but in doing so we do not erase, we transform, a metamorphosis that brings forth the continuity of memory, where whispers emerge not merely as ephemeral thoughts but as enduring legacies crafted by the lives once lived in the shimmering grip of secrecy. Pause for a moment and let the quietude resonate. The narrative of Area 51 unfurls beyond the boundaries of its clandestine origins. It echoes throughout history, imbuing us with awe for the unknown, urging us to reflect on the intricate web of human experience crafted through fear, courage, and an insatiable thirst for understanding. Perhaps it is through engaging with these sometimes murmured echoes that we gain renewed insight into what lies beyond the shadows, exploring the duality of our existence, our ongoing dance with the unknown that lives within us, a testament to our collective struggle and hope. So as the last light sinks below the horizon, we're left standing amidst the remnant foundations of this complex legacy. The echoes of 1,000 whispered stories linger in the evening air, a haunting reminder that the people are gone, yet their world still softly echoes through ours. Time may shift the landscape, but not its memory, for in our quest for answers, perhaps we are meant not only to remember but to cultivate understanding, allowing the past to gently cradle our future. The journey is ongoing, a pilgrimage through whispers and shadows where the tale of Area 51 leaves a trace, a quiet, lingering resonance carried by the winds that sweep across this timeless expanse.